Okay guys, it's been a crazy couple of weeks in property. Apologies for last week, I didn't manage to get a video out, but things have been hectic. We're going to get into it right now. I'm sat in one of my properties and no, it's not going to SERCO, and I'll explain to you why and explain to you all the news about SERCO putting out this announcement, the media getting hold of it, almost risking a frenzy like in this, a couple of months ago when there was riots, and SERCO pulling it off their website. And what does this mean for property investors? What does it show about the general state of the market? And what does this mean for people in general who are renting and are buying, who are actually concerned about the future of the UK as a whole? Because we have that to consider. Property investing in the UK doesn't operate on its own, it's all intertwined into society, so we need to consider that as well. And also guys, what does it mean for renters, and what do the recent local elections mean for this strategy? Let's get into it. I'm Immigrants. Don't just watch this video, subscribe. Do me a massive favour, like it as well, as it boosts the algorithm and it gets people networking and in the comments. And guys, don't just watch this video in isolation, because it actually ties into all my other videos, and you'll see how you can really start to think and take an advantage and make loads of money in property to become financially free. Let's get into it. So guys, this week, SERCO put out an announcement saying, calling all landlords. We're looking for property prospective landlords, investors and agents across the North and the Midlands for a new 5-year social housing scheme with guaranteed rents and no maintenance. If you're a seasoned landlord, you'll know this scheme's been around for years and years, but it's been tailing off. They've been more difficult to deal with. A lot of landlords don't deal with SERCO. I don't deal with SERCO myself, and it's asylum seeker accommodation. The rates are pretty low and historically have been. They've not returned properties in the same condition as they promised, and there's not much you can do about it. So why are they suddenly needing loads of properties again? Okay, and it's into the thousands, guys. If you remember the riots in the summer, where they targeted asylum seeker big, holding areas and big properties, and they were set on fire, etc., etc. I think this has put a lot of landlords off of giving it to SERCO, and rightly so, because if you own that property or property on that street and it was targeted, it's your asset. That's something you worked hard with. SERCO don't really care much about it. Second of all, obviously the political climate in terms of asylum seekers, people taking advantage of the system, reforms, popularity in local elections, even the Labour government, who would traditionally encourage this, have been like, to stay in power, we need to tackle this problem. I think that's putting a lot of people off, and also landlords are leaving the market. They're wanting the big corporates, who actually own shares in SERCOs, by the way. A lot of the big hedge funds actually own shares in SERCO. They want them to take over, so they're squeezing landlords out anyway. So the property demand, the property availability from landlords, especially in the north where we're buying, guys, in the northwest, there's a reason why they want properties here, is really low, and it's good for us as landlords. And this is why they haven't asked for properties in Hull, in Scarborough, etc. Specifically, probably Manchester and some areas of the Midlands. Guys, is this a good idea? Is this, and by the way, guys, just before I get into whether the pros and cons, and drop a comment below if you agree with it politically, morally, economically. But guys, just before I get into that, the announcement was actually pulled, okay? The media got hold of it. They were publishing sensational articles, and SERCO must have been rang up by the government and said, take this off now before it gets us makes the situation worse. The government actually published a note on their website, guys, and I'll put it on screen now, saying the list of local authorities SERCO shared on his website for landlords is not a Home Office list, and is not a list of existing or future asylum accommodation. Why have they said that? Because they don't want people targeting those areas. SERCO then removed it off their website. Now, would you do business with this kind of behaviour where SERCO publishing something, the government ring them up, it suddenly disappears off their website? It's all very, we don't know what's happening. It's all very strange. It's all very controlled. Do you want to get into bed with SERCO when this kind of behaviour is happening? Do you trust SERCO to deliver you a 5-year maintenance contract where they've just where they published it and then they just took it off the website when the government rang them up? Guys, one of the biggest things about property is wealth is not made overnight. The decision about whether to rent a property to SERCO is not a decision that's going to make you money today or impact it today. It's going to be in 5-10 years' time. Can you guarantee the same government and the same policies in 5 years' time? Bear in mind, Reform won loads of council seats recently as a protest vote. I'm not saying they're going to win the next election, but are Labour really going to be in power in 5 years' time with the same policies critically? No, they're probably not. Can SERCO or the government get out of these contracts? Of course they can. Anyone who says, oh, it's guaranteed by the government, they can't do anything, I'll take them to court, you're joking. The government can buy a house under compulsory purchase off you if they want to. Anyone's. Not even landlords. So you don't think they can get out of a contract they've written themselves? Come on, guys, think. Where do they want properties? In the northwest, north. We're buying and sourcing properties, guys. Yes, in the comments if you want details on that. Where there's so much demand from professionals, from nurses, from HMO tenants, from all people paying rent in advance. Why would you? Any property I buy has got, or source for clients has got at least 3 different types of tenants, plus Airbnb, plus service accommodation. SERCO would be the very last on the list for me. One, because the rates may be market rates now, but they won't. They're linked to inflation, where rents are outpacing inflation in areas we're buying. It's not going to keep up in 5 years, number one. Number two, you can't get access to your property. Okay, no access, I've written that down. And what that means is, guys, wealth is built in property by leveraging debt. So you're tapping into the property. We're buying properties below market value. We're waiting a year or two. Well, we're remortgaging straight away. We're waiting a year or two, remortgaging it again and again. What do you need to happen for a remortgage? You need the property to be in a nice condition. You need a surveyor to go around. Effectively given a property to SERCO for 5 years, yes, you might be getting market rent or slightly above, but you're losing control of the asset that's going to get your financial freedom. You can't go inside it. You can't send a surveyor around. You can't guarantee its condition. All they say to you in the contract is, we will give it you back in the same condition, which they usually don't. So that doesn't mean in year 2 that it's in good condition. Plus, you won't be allowed access anyway. They wouldn't even tell you who the housing there, and they probably wouldn't let you have access because the security is that much higher now. You're effectively losing control of an appreciating asset for 5 years, which could have been tapped into, and you could have remortgaged once or twice to grow the portfolio. Every property you buy, if you're doing that, you're going to have a 10 property portfolio in 5 years. You're losing the ability to do that, guys. So what is the point? If you're trying to build a portfolio and give it to SERCO, it's not going to happen. And that's one of the main reasons why I wouldn't deal with SERCO. That is apart from the fact that it will be a target. If your neighbours find out, you won't be liked. You won't be offered properties, which, your neighbour, or there's a probate sale, someone's parents passed away, they want you to buy the property and make it nice for the area and give it to a family or professionals. We've even had neighbours who are happy about Airbnb in the area in Liverpool, etc. So that won't be happening. They'll hate you. So you won't, and the agents probably will as well. So you won't get any favours from anyone. It's going to be a target. The property's going to stick out like a target. SERCO is so weird as well. Remember, you're dealing with a government agency and you don't have any control. One of the stories I read was they painted doors in some small town red, so the workers would know which ones to visit and which one had asylum seekers and which ones had, obviously, they house other tenants as well. The local people cottoned on and they were a target. Why would you want that for your own asset? It's just headache. Political reform, a massive one as well. I don't think the same policies are going to apply. Labour have to change to stay in power. Reform are massively gaining popularity. Guys, in the comments, even landlords on other people's videos have been like, even immigrant landlords have been like, this is taking the mick. I don't really want to rent to people who are coming over, trying to stay in this country, be criminals, etc. And I get it. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Get as political as you want. So I get it. There's no flexibility, guys. You want to change, you want to sell a property, you want to trade some properties, you want to... I've had a couple of properties in my own portfolio where Airbnbs now could make 4 or 5k a month and I'm making £1,500 a month. So I want to change it to Airbnb. You won't be able to do that. And finally, guys, don't trust the government. You're doing property to get out of this financial trap that they built to keep you in on purpose. Property is the way out, okay? You're giving it back to the government to control, and it just doesn't sit right with me. And just the way they announced it and the way they move, and even when the riots were going on and they were locking people up for Facebook posts, it's just something it's really quite negative, and it's something that I'd probably say keep away from. Not even taking into account whether you support asylum seekers or illegal immigration or legal immigration or whatever is your say on it. You know, as a guy who built his property portfolio from immigrant parents, but who came here to work as nurses, and I've been very fortunate to house people in a full circle way going through that journey, house nurses from abroad studying from Nigeria, other countries, etc., Spain, and I think that's been a really positive energy around the business and allowed it to flourish. I would have struggled building the same business under such volatile circumstances where you're housing people that people don't want in the country and that are behaving in a potentially illegal way or awaiting deportation. It's just very difficult to deal with. And I believe what you help, you get back, and karma looks after you. So I don't think really I would do this. And I don't think I'd advise clients to do it. At the end of the day, guys, as I always say, from a business perspective, if you buy well, you should have no problem renting it out. There's massive demand. That's why they want more properties, because they can't get them. If you're buying in these areas, you shouldn't have a problem, and you're doing the house well but not spending too much, you shouldn't have a problem. All our properties are full. Yes, you might have a gap, but those gaps are useful to go in, see what he's doing, you know, clean the gutters out, make it nice, maybe remortgage and get it back out earning again and have that flexibility. Maybe you want to change strategy. You need a mix of strategies. So I personally wouldn't do this. The other thing is, guys, in the Northwest, demand is massive, rent is going up and supply is going down. What that means is, and not only is this SERCO policy, it's not new, but obviously they're expanding it, going to put up rents for the ordinary person. Obviously, as landlords, we're going to benefit from increased rents, right? So if you're getting increased rents from a family or professional or HMO rooms, why would you even need to go to SERCO? Because this increased rent won't take effect now, it will take effect next year when they've taken all these houses off the market effectively for 5 years. So you're reducing the supply. So these rents, you can't predict what the rents are going to be. You might think, oh, 5% increase in the contract every year, that's really good. Guys, I couldn't see how much, I started rooms at 350 quid. How would you get £650 in Manchester for a room? We're getting it, guys, and more so. So never underestimate where the rent's going to go and be happy with what they put in the contract. A few reasons to do SERCO, potentially, is if you don't want to take advantage of leverage, you're buying one property, you can't rent it out, you haven't bought the best property, you don't want to deal with any maintenance, you don't want to remortgage, you don't have anyone else to rent the property, and if you can negotiate well, you might get above market rates. I don't think you will, just because of the nature of the landlords who give properties to SERCO. They're really, really hands-off, so they're not going to negotiate. If they wanted the most rent, they'd go to private or professional estate agents or tenants. So I don't think you're going to get above market rates, and even if you do, it'll be above our market rates for this year, but next year it'll probably be the way the rent's going in these areas. There'll be a below market rent, and you won't be able to change that contract. Remember, it only benefits them. The government don't want you to make money out of it. They want the hedge fund owning mates, the people who've got shareholdings in SERCO, etc. That's why they get the contract. If they really wanted landlord to make money out of it, just one or two companies wouldn't have the contract, guys. It's as simple as that. And if you remember, guys, you might say SERCO's a massive company, good covenant, good tenant. They're never going to go bust. Carillion went bust, guys, and that was pretty much the same as SERCO. It was as big as SERCO, government contractor. They went bust, and there was a pension scandal. Imagine what happens in that situation where there's a problem at SERCO, whether it be a scandal or management or a financial issue. How are you going to get asylum seekers out of your property? You probably get arrested for even going there the way the government's moving on it. So be very careful, guys. Be very careful about working with SERCO. That's not to say don't do social housing and help vulnerable people. We're dealing with niche providers who've got direct relationship. Remember, SERCO's not the council. They're they're an agency made for profit. We're dealing with direct with councils. We're dealing direct with social housing providers, housing vulnerable women, ex-offenders, people who need that support, supported living, and we get above market rates. We get flexibility. We get everything and more of this, and we're not tied to the government. The other thing is, guys, We're also starting to give it to contractors, agency house like locum doctors, etc., etc. And we're getting good market rates there, well above market rates anyway. The last thing you want is a neighbour or people to buy in a certain street and have a few, because all landlords have a few around the area kind of thing, and everyone knows it's rented to SERCO. That would be my worst nightmare. So guys, SERCO wants you, and why do they want you? For a reason. They don't want you to make you rich, they want your properties to make them rich and take the risk off them, so they don't have to put people in one massive building where they're a massive target. They can kind of hide them in the community, but they're never hidden. They want to give you market rate, which you'll get anyway, and they want to tie you up and your asset up for 5 years. So effectively, SERCO pay hotel rates to house asylum seekers in hotels, or even more. What is more beneficial for them is to put 4 people in a house, or HMO, or a normal house. Remember, they're exempt from HMO, basically exempt from all of them regulations anyway, which would apply to me and you as a landlord in terms of Article 4, all of that kind of stuff. And so now they could pay a non-HMO, they don't even pay HMO rates sometimes. They'll pay you £1,500 to put 4 people in, where they were paying for 4 people for each hotel room, probably £100 a night. And they're paying you £14 a night or whatever it is in private rented, but they don't charge it per night. You're basically, they're winning, aren't they? They're housing someone in one house. They're taking 4 people from a hotel, putting them in one house. What does that mean for you? Well, your house is getting battered. You know, you've seen clauses in these contracts where you have to replace the kitchen every 4 years. You have to do this. What if there's structural issues and it's caused by tenants? Because structural issues can be caused by tenants. Walls can crumble, damp can set in when you're not opening windows, they can do all sorts, and it's your responsibility. So be very careful, guys. I advocate buy well, below market value. We're sourcing these properties all the time. Buy well, make sure it rents. You'll have multiple people renting a good property in a good location. Location, location, location. Remember that, guys. And you won't need any of these schemes. Is it a bonus to have a niche social housing provider, an Airbnb contractor, any of those people wanting your property and then choosing? Yes, it is. But guys, don't rely on SERCO. I've seen too many portfolios built up by newbies, relative newbies who've been in the industry 1, 2, 5 years, who heavily rely on SERCO, some of my own mates, and what's happened is they've moved out of the area, they've gone, we've got too many in this area now, we're not paid anymore. They've got HMOs in working class areas with no professional, no wealth, and what are they doing? They're stuck. It's a bad investment, guys. If you're relying on SERCO to fill and make you money, it's a bad investment. Remember Warren Buffett's rule, don't buy an asset which you won't want to operate or hold for 10 years. Would you deal with SERCO in this current climate for 10 years and rely on them and to rely on their contracts? No. So guys, that's my opinion on it. It's not a political opinion, but it's a money-making opinion that you can make more money without it and you're getting taken advantage of. At the same time, guys, it's also saving yourself from awkward political situations which are bound to arise, which you've already seen arise and which no doubt will exacerbate into the future. Property is an easy way of making money. It should be stress-free. It should allow you to build and escape the 9 to 5 in the fastest way probable. The most millionaires are made out of property. Everyone wants to do property. Don't get involved in difficulties such as this. That is my 2 pence on the issue. I'd like to know your comments, especially in this video, guys. What do you think? Are you a landlord? Would you take SERCO? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's, as landlords, we've got responsibilities to not make this problem bigger? Because it could be your friends living around the corner. It could be your parents living around the corner. Who knows? Personally, it's not for me. I've never been a SERCO kind of landlord, but let me know what you think, guys. As I said, watch the next video as well, because I'm going to go into interest rates and the demand and property prices, and it's very closely linked to all of this, because that is effectively why they need more properties, because demand is going up, rent is going up, supply is going down. And also, as I said, there's less and less hotels that want to house SERCO, there's less and less big buildings that they want to take on, and there's less and less landlords who want to actually even be landlords, never mind having the problems of dealing with these kind of tenants. Let's get it.